Hey there, this is Robert of Bits for You. Yes, bits for freaking you. And on this episode, we have a little special something. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So I wanted to tell you guys I got a good, awesome review recently. Actually, it was a while ago. On the iTunes, on Apple Podcasts. So for those of you that have Apple Podcasts, and iTunes, you guys can write a review and give a rating. That helps us out a lot. The person that wrote this, they put the name "died laughing." They put lots of fun on the subject line, 5 stars, and they wrote, "These guys are unique. They entertain me with their silliness and pop culture references. The wise guys have me laughing till I die." Well, I'm assuming it's die because it's in like asterisks and the at symbol and stuff. I guess Apple censors the word die. No, well, this person died laughing. I killed somebody with laughter. I don't think that's a crime. I've never heard of anybody going to being accused of a crime or murder for laughter. Have you? Okay, good. What? Okay. So, whoever that person is, well, they go by the name of Died Laughing. I appreciate that. Thanks for reviewing us, and anybody else out there, please review us. Doesn't matter if it's on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. It's current apps that you use for podcasts, like Google. Google has a new podcast app. It's very simple. It's just called Google Podcasts. Available on all Android devices, tablets, etc. The main podcast for Apple devices like iPad, iPhone is the Apple Podcasts. It's typically already built into the phone, or the software's already in the phone, pre-installed. It's just a little podcast symbol. It says podcast, and you can subscribe and listen to us there and give us a rating as well. What else is new here? It's been a while. So going back to what I was going to say, this podcast is with a good friend of mine. I think we go into detail on how we met, or how I think we met on the podcast. His name is Chris. He has his own podcast. When I met him, he only had one podcast on the Geek Ncast network, or his website is geekncast.com. But he also mentions it at the end of the podcast, so you guys can validate that in case I have it wrong. He I don't know how it was. I believe it was on Twitter. Maybe I followed him or he followed me or something, and then he mentioned something about Florida. I believe it was on Twitter, and that's one of us contacted each other, and yeah. So I don't want to ruin the story, but good friends. We text every now and then. He's giving me suggestions on my podcast. I have praised his podcast as well, and give him a little tip here and there, a tip here and there. And so when we were doing the podcast, I guess I was a little too intoxicated from the beer, so I get a little tongue twisted every now and then during the 2-hour session recording with Chris. But it was nonetheless a fun podcast. He also has a second podcast. That one is Gaming Dad 101. I've been on that one, as I mentioned here before. Great podcast. They have a new member added to that podcast, so check that one out as well. The main podcast that he has is Control C. His wife and a few friends get together and they dissect and give their opinions on movies. Very fun. It's fun to listen to each person's perspective on movies, and sometimes they tend to like bash each other for making the other watch this terrible movie or this great movie, and it's hilarious when that happens. But they all do it in good fun. So, have you heard of the Control C podcast?
From you?
But you haven't listened to it yourself. What are you waiting for?
I'll do that tomorrow.
You better. And let Chris know what you think of it next time we record this. Okay? Alright. And, yeah, that's it. Oh, before, we just got back from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. What are your thoughts on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? I'm looking at you. Get closer.
It was a good movie.
Yeah? Better than the last Jurassic World?
Not really.
What
I think they're both No, actually, I think it is a little better.
What was better?
I think I preferred this story.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
And the ending, I loved it.
Don't spoil it.
I'm not.
You better not spoil it or te voy a dar pao pao. I didn't. I mean, it was not a bad. What can I say? We just finished. We just walked out of it like half an hour ago. I enjoyed the first Jurassic World a lot more than this one. But this one, it got to be a little predictable. Yeah, no, I'm not saying yes. You're correct, but it paid a lot of it borrowed a lot from the Spielberg directed, heavily produced original trilogy. And I was like, okay, this is gonna happen. Here comes the T-Rex, blah blah blah. Oh, look, the little spin around, just like the very first movie that Spielberg did with the T-Rex. Oh yeah, it's very those scenes were very predictable. I mean, I know these movies are not meant to be, anything like Oscar winning or not even. It doesn't have to be Oscar winning, but they're just fucking predictable and mindless. Leave your brain at the door type of movies, which I enjoy. And everybody, who doesn't enjoy dinosaurs kicking each other's asses and eating humans? So it's worth watching. I just think that the first Jurassic World was better than this sequel. That's just, what I think. And anyways, here's me and Chris.
What's up?
What's cooking in that kitchen, dude?
Not much, brother. Just here chilling.
Just chilling.
Yup.
Damn.
Oh man. How you been, bro?
Good. I appreciate you taking time in your busy schedule to hang out with me.
Nah, anytime.
Oh shit! This is a long time coming. I've been on yours, but I was like, oh shit! I've always had in the back of my mind, Chris has to come over here, but I don't know when. And then I'm like, fuck, Javier's on his honeymoon. Now's the perfect time.
Nice.
Well, he just got back today, but
did he?
Who gives a fuck? No, actually, I talked to him. Actually, like about 20 minutes ago, I got off the phone with him. And then I started eating my quick early dinner, and he had a fun trip. And he went to what's that fucking island? He went to Greece, but it wasn't like the mainland. It was an island off of Greece, Santorini, some shit like that. For his honeymoon.
Never heard
it. Never heard
Did
of
he
that?
enjoy it at least?
Yeah. He said
Sweet.
it was fun. He said it was fun, man. I've never been to Europe, so I'm a little jealous that he actually went to Europe.
Dude, I've been wanting to go to Europe for years, but it's one of those things that I don't think I can. So like. Weird story. And I don't know if you're recording or not. It's cool if you are.
It's we are recording. Yeah, why not? What the hell?
Cool. Why not? So yeah, long story short is I'm part Italian. and from on my mom's side, and because of that,
Good
the
thing you
way
mentioned that
the
because I was about to ask you where you're from, but that's fine. You already started. Good to
yeah,
know.
it's one of those where my mom is Italian, and
Mm-hmm.
because she's Italian, the way that their citizenship works is if you're the son of an Italian person, you qualify as an Italian citizen.
Uh-huh.
So because of that, I of course have my Italian citizenship. I have dual citizenship.
Sweet.
So it's one of those things where Italy has these laws where you're supposed to mandatorily like serve, like mandatory military service.
Right.
And I never did it because I never lived there and I was in the US the entire time. So I
Okay.
always have this fear in the back of my mind that if I go, I'm gonna get arrested
You'll
for
get
not showing
arrested.
up.
I think Italy has other issues to prioritize instead of arresting a citizen that has never lived there.
I mean, technically speaking, it could be, desertion or whatever, but it's one of those cases where, I mean, it would be sorted out pretty quick. I just feel like I would have to go through the hassle, Like, I feel like they would let me go after 2 hours, but then shit, I lost 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't think it would last longer than 2 hours. I've never, obviously I just mentioned I've never been to Europe, and neither have you. But Javier said that in his brief experience in Europe, things outside of the U.S., at least in the European sense, run very smooth and efficient. But unbeknownst to a lot of people that think that America is the wonderful little palace or country that it is. I'm
Yeah,
like,
let's put it this way: not for long if shit keeps going the way that it's
well,
going.
of course, dude. No, we got freaking kids being held in concentration camps. It's like fucking World War II again. It's fucking
Oh
disgusting.
yeah, no, it's pretty ridiculous, man. I was talking. I'm not even gonna lie. I was talking to my Canadian friend. Funny enough that we're on the
Oh,
topic
cool.
like 10 minutes ago.
I love Canadians. Yay, Canada.
Yeah, and basically I told her how I kind of like wish that I had, lived up there and stuff because especially how things are looking out now and how things are turning now.
Right.
And she's like, "Yeah, that's kind of sad. I don't, I wish you would have come." And it's like, "Yep, that's what it is. It's welcome to the U.S., where you get by if you're white, put in cages if you're a child, and a gun outweighs human lives."
Yeah.
And it's a sad reality.
It is.
And I mean, and I don't want to get too political, so
Oh, you
don't
can
let
get
me fall down
you
that
know
rabbit
me.
hole.
You know me. This is freeform. You can speak your mind however
No.
long you want. I don't care.
But it's one of those things that like I want people to have their guns. I want everybody to have their own.
Oh, I do too. I talk
Hello?
about it. I think you've heard me talk about it on this podcast. I'm not against guns. I'm not banning them. I'm not for banning them, but I'm for just stricter, laws. To make it difficult for fucking morons to get a gun. That's all I'm for.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing. I want everybody to have their own guns. I don't want it to be accessible. It's one of those that I think about it and basically under current laws, and the way that I would like to put it to people is under current laws, an immigrant could come to the United States
Yes.
and purchase a shit ton of weapons.
Yep.
And now here's my thing, and here's where I want to speak to the gun nuts, not the gun owners, the gun nuts.
Right.
Would you be okay with an immigrant coming in and just buying guns for the shit of it? You barely want them in the country. Let's be realistic. It's okay.
Right.
You have the right to that opinion. That's cool.
Right.
But if you want them out of the country, clearly you shouldn't want them wanting guns. And if you don't want them wanting guns, that's called gun regulation. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if we can make a law to do things like that, prevent people that shouldn't get guns, why can't we talk about sensible gun laws? And that's all I want. It's an actual conversation. But the thing is that both sides, and this is where I'm kind of weird. I don't really lean to one or the other. I'm kind of, to some extent, I'm libertarian, but not really.
Same here. I consider myself, maybe, I don't know if you just mentioned that you kind of lean toward it, libertarian, but I'm also a little bit conservative, a little liberal. Like, for example, conservatives or Republicans, I'm not talking about outright Republicans or extremists that, a lot of it has
shown up on the internet for the past 18 months.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about traditional old school Republicans are all about small government. Hey, meaning that they don't want big government, like federal government, to control everything. You know, they want to be independent in an extent. I'm for that. I don't see. I don't like the whole idea of like the government should be regulating everything. No, the government should not regulate everything, because if once that happens, that they regulate every fucking thing, where comes the where is it that they might not take away your freedoms and everything's regulated? You know, it just falls down that path.
I don't know.
It's just weird. But you were saying that you're kind of libertarian.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of in that in between to some extent, but because there's certain issues that I fall very left on. There's certain issues that I fall very right on. There's certain issues that I could give a fuck.
Right.
But I just feel that one, we should protect especially children, one way or the other. That two, clearly there is some sort of problem that we should look at what the actual cause is rather than point fingers at whatever isn't what is offending us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And actually go down to the root of the problem and find a solution rather than take sides. Just everybody shut up and just just look at the situation.
I
realize there's a problem one way or the other and work together.
I agree with everything you're saying. Maybe that's why we've been friends for half a year or a little longer, because we have sort of similar views. You know, I think that there's nothing wrong with people leaning left and right at different times in throughout the month, throughout the week, the year, their lives. It's all people want to join a team, and it doesn't mean that you have to join this team and follow that team to the very end. That's just stupid, you know? What if the team is losing, or not losing, but let's say making stupid rules or laws? Are you going to still follow that team? You have the right to leave the team. But a lot of people, based on what I see in social media, they're like, no, we still stand by our team, even though they're doing these wrong decisions.
But you see, here's where I kind of disagree with you, but I also agree with you. And I know, again, but it's fine to not have to give up your side.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you have to be open to the possibility of, rather than make choices based on a side that you belong to, how about you cut the shit and follow your values, follow your core, but make the better choice.
Right.
Not just like, and I'm going to use this example because it's my personal example. My father voted for Trump.
Okay.
Just because my father is very Christian. And he feels that being Christian, the Christians belong with the Republican Party. That's fine. I can accept his point of view. I disagree, but I can.
I would like to ask your dad why, not him, but Christians. A lot of Christians feel that way, that they have to go with the Republicans. It's just always
because historically they've seemed to be more biblical, and they like to use the word God a lot to justify what they do.
You're right. that clears it up.
You know, so he voted for Trump not because he thought Trump was the better person, not because he wanted to vote against Hillary Clinton, not because he didn't like the other two candidates that were there, just because I'm Christian, so I have to vote Republican.
I see.
He didn't take a look at the issues. He didn't take a look at who stood for what. And I would respect the decision more if he were to tell me to my face, hey, the reason I voted for Trump is because I felt that what he said for this was good, what he said for that was good,
right? And
I believe this. And that is a point where I can disagree with him, but I'll accept it. That's cool. You know what I mean?
Because it's right.
I respected it.
Right.
Exactly. Because it's an informed decision rather than just based on because I have an allegiance to something.
Right. Yeah, you got a point with that too. I mean, I'm for what you're saying as well. You know, it's just sad where people just make up their minds and they're not willing to sit down, like, for example, two podcast hosts are doing right now. or it doesn't have to be a podcast host. It could be anybody. And people don't have conversations with at least these days, they don't have conversations without, what's the word? Without arguing or without raising their voice. They everything seems like a yelling fest or shouting fest. That's a better word.
Because we're all concerned with ourselves, man. That's what it boils down to. Nobody really cares about anybody else.
Yeah, and I'm going to that around, I would say, Halloween or around my birthday. My personal Facebook account, I'm pretty much non-existent on it because I just got tired of the bullshit from like family and friends battling and arguing bullshit things. Like nobody's an expert, but hey, I also agree that everybody has the right to their opinion based on whatever media outlet they want to choose to believe. Not talking about fake news or anything like that, but they're so caught up in it. And a lot of people that I know, family, friends, were posting too much personal shit on social media, on specifically Facebook. And I said, you know what? Fuck this. So I if I go on Facebook, my personal one is maybe once a week, or sometimes I skip a week and go on it just to see if anybody send me a message. But that's, or send me a friend request like, oh shit, another cousin I didn't know I had.
Isn't it funny how those pop out of the woodwork?
Yeah, dude, out of nowhere. Oh shit, you got another cousin. Okay, but I'm mostly on the Bits for You Facebook because at least I get to have a little fun. I'm not really going into seeing a lot of people's personal shit or drama because I just just there for fun and interact with the listeners. That's pretty much what I do, and I just got tired of the whole social media thing. I don't know. I don't know if you can see what I'm trying to say.
I think I'm reaching that point.
Yeah, man.
Because, earlier today, both people posting the whole thing about, the positive and the good about the whole Trump thing and him changing his mind, etc.
My brother wants to chip in and say, because, if not on Facebook, it's not official. My brother just texted me that.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, go ahead, continue.
I agree. When my wife and I started dating, basically we didn't consider ourselves dating till it was Facebook official.
Yeah.
So there is some sort of truth to that.
Because we're all young and we all believe that whole social media shit at one point.
Yeah, but I am starting to get tired of social media to an extent. Just earlier today, like I said, with the whole posting about Trump and his decision about the kids and the immigrant parents and blah, blah, blah. Right. Regardless of who was posting about what side, I was just like, no matter who's posting what, nobody's willing to listen to anybody else unless they agree with their own point of view. So it's pointless. It's just become this big waste of time where 90% of my damn feed is covered with bullshit, political stuff that nobody wants to talk about.
Exactly. Even the Bits for You Facebook, I'm scrolling and I see kids in cage, I'm like, why? Like you said, 95% is just all of this, and then they're blaming the other person, the other side. Oh no, because Clinton made this law, or blah 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 made this law, that they're the ones that said that it's okay to separate the kids. And if you actually look down at the actual law that they say Clinton came up with, it's not. They don't really say separate kids from their parents. They say separate the kids that come in alone, illegally alone, because there are children that come in alone without adults to the country. Put them aside, give them a bill of, check of health, and then we'll proceed with the next steps. Nowhere did it say, hey, if the kid comes with their parents, let's separate them.
See, and I didn't even know that.
That's where it boils down to. That's what I saw, and I checked in 3 sources. Legit sources, not on Facebook, because everything on Facebook you can't really believe because it's a lot of clickbait.
Yeah, no, for real. But I didn't even know that. But here's the point of it: I don't give a shit who made the law.
Exactly. Everybody makes mistakes.
Freaking George Washington could have made that fucking.
And even
law.
if it was Clinton, hey, nobody's perfect. Oh shit! But even if it was Clinton, did Clinton or Obama or anybody ever report? Oh shit, they're taking kids away. No, that never came about.
Well, see, here's the part that I don't understand how people aren't seeing. Like, okay, you're telling us that this law is bad because Clinton made it. Now, are you a fan of Clinton? You're going to tell me that no, you're not a fan of Clinton. So now you've agreed that Clinton is shit, and you agreed that his law is shit, and you're going to tell me that law shouldn't fucking go away then?
Exactly.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
There is no logic, and that's the issue that I have with a lot of this, is the fact that you hate Clinton. You are telling me that I should hate the law,
right?
But the law was under Clinton. You hate Clinton. The law's shit. Both are shit. That's fine. I can agree with you. Both can be shit. Now can we agree that there's a problem and it needs to be fixed? But nobody's looking at it that way. They are simply put with, my side is right, your side is wrong. I don't give a shit. Your side is wrong.
Exactly. You know? There's no equal grounds, and that's what I miss. Like growing up, even in the 80s and let's say most of the 90s, or actually all the 90s, because social media didn't really take off until like the last 10 years. It was simpler times in that we didn't see a lot of this, back and forth or shouting fest, and to me that's something that I miss, or that I wish it can go back to those times. But obviously I don't want to sound like an old timer, so I can't say.
You know what I miss, and this is gonna date me so bad, but this is what I miss. I miss Facebook back when the only way that you can get on Facebook was by having an edu address because you went to college.
Right. Yeah.
It was empty as shit. Compared to now, it was super empty.
It was
one, there were no parents, so you didn't have to worry about that crap.
Right.
And it was so much less crap. It was just about college life and living college and partying.
And it was limited to the amount of characters you can type in a post. I think it was like 400 or 500 characters, and that's it. Now people are typing like 3,000 characters. I'm like, what the fuck are writing?
Now people write novels and shit. Yeah. I once met a man by the sea.
Oh,
let me tell you about my
it's
life.
Fucking crazy. But like going back to what you were saying with the whole he said she said about the current the law. So whatever the law that currently is with the separating parents, it's just the funny. Oh, I remember now. So the funny thing is that now today, maybe a few hours ago, maybe you saw this because my phone fucking notified me. Hey, Donald Trump signs executive order to stop that law and stop separating the kids from their parents. So now he seems like the good guy, like the hero. When a couple of days ago he was saying, "Oh no, I fully support it." In other words,
not just that, he said, "I don't have the power."
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so you're telling me
he was blaming it on the Democrats, like I was saying, and then I just read 3 articles that said that the Democrats didn't actually word it that way.
No, but whatever. Let's pretend the Democrats are at fault because I like to play.
Yeah, nobody's
that game.
Perfect.
Let's pretend they are fuck ups.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that said, first of all, you're telling me you don't have the power to stop this bullshit, but you think you have the power to stop a federal investigation against you.
Right.
Oh, okay, sure. With that aside, this isn't about him changing his mind. This isn't about him evaluating the situation and then saying, you know what? Everybody's right. This isn't humane. We need to stop this. I didn't understand what was happening. Now I understand what is happening, and this is not right. This is about him standing his ground with the bullshit, and then realizing that his own party is now turning against him, and realizing that if he even loses one Republican, it jeopardizes his whole thing. And because of that, that's what his response is. Oh, my own camp is turning. I can't afford to lose any of them because we still have majority rule.
Right.
I can't afford to lose them. Let me go ahead and change my mind because it'll make them happy and they'll be back on my side. And that is the bad thing. And it's kind of comparable to, you know what? It is a good deed for somebody to donate an organ. But it makes that deed kind of shitty if the reason they did it was for $7,000. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
There's really no sacrifice. All you did was sell an organ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I learn, for example, like you're my friend, man, and we haven't even been friends a year.
Right.
I think it's been, close to like 9 or 10 months, something along those lines. because you and I were friends before Gaming Dad 101 launched.
Right.
So yeah, because we were talking about me launching it and everything. So
Yes.
with that said, like if you were to tell me you needed an organ and it was within my realm of possibility to do it, it would be a sacrifice to me because I'm not looking it for anything back. I'm doing it
Mm-hmm.
because we're friends and to save your life type of thing,
Right.
And that's one thing. But if you come to me and you're like, "Hey, $100,000, give me a kidney." Sure, for $100,000, you pay for the surgery. Why the fuck not?
Dude,
You know what I
my
mean?
liver's acting up lately. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but going back to what you were saying, dude, I would just like to add that he also did it because he like adding like it's he's a populist, and he saw, like you said, not only his party but majority of the people on online social media going against it. And also, I'll add one more thing. He probably likely also did it because he was blaming the Democrats 5 days ago that it was their fault, and now he looks like the hero. Oh shit! I stopped it. It's ending. I'm the
It's
good guy now.
possible, man.
You
At
know,
this
his
point, with
wacko
this party,
mind.
nothing so surprises me. Like, there's
and,
nothing would surprise me at this point.
and you see how it works. The way that everything with social media is, it goes around for like a few days. You get millions of people, not only in this country, worldwide, talking about it. And there's other topics that are being discussed behind the scenes that nobody's focused on because we're all focused on this one thing. So there's a lot of more severe issues that have happened, but everybody's focused on one thing, all because of the whole switcheroo, the whole clickbait, I guess, trend. And that's one of the reasons that I don't go on my personal Facebook. I'm like, no, fuck that shit. I don't go on there. Instagram is easy because Instagram is just post a picture and you get a little fucking heart, and that's you can't really have a debate on Instagram. I mean, who the fuck debate? I've seen people debate on Instagram. I'm like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? That person just posted a picture and you're fucking
But you know
debating
what?
with them?
I mean, it at the very least, it looks cute with all the little hearts and shit.
It's the only thing you can get. You don't get no sad face, and that's the thing. I like it because Instagram is simple. There was a thing last year that the Instagram, Instagram is owned by Facebook. That Facebook wanted to make Instagram have thumbs up, thumbs down, heart face. I'm like, no. That's Facebook, dude. Why unite them? Keep them separate.
Yeah,
I
man.
like
Nah,
the heart,
they
and
do
that's
their
it.
own
It's very
thing.
simple, dude. Just the heart. If you don't like it, then don't put the heart. You just leave it blank. you know.
Nah, man, and at that point, you also get things that are like overly complicated, like
Yeah.
Snapchat now too. Like Snapchat
I've
has
never used
become
that shit in my life, and
ridiculous.
I never plan to.
Dude, I use it because just why the hell not, I guess, and
So
stupid shit.
what about
But
Snapchat? You were saying about Snapchat?
everything keeps getting super complicated with it. Like they just
Uh-huh.
keep making the UI more and more complex, and it just gets to a point where either I'm getting too old or it's just getting pointless.
But
Like you're just doing updates for the shit of it,
right, and
and
you know why that
it doesn't
is.
even work.
Facebook wanted to buy Snapchat 3 years ago. Snapchat gave them the finger. So Facebook is like, okay, we're going to steal your ideas, put it on Instagram. And now Instagram has over 800 million users worldwide, and Snapchat has something last time I saw 300 million. So Snapchat is losing a lot of people to Instagram.
Oh yeah, no, their stock keeps dropping left and right. I
Yeah.
don't think they could give it away at this point.
Exactly. Nobody wants them anymore because they're like, Facebook is like, fuck you. We made Instagram better, and look at all these people on Instagram.
I don't know. Snapchat needs to kick up their game, but I don't think they can, man. At this point, with Facebook fronting the money for Instagram, the only one that could save Snapchat is Disney. And let's face it, for what people use Snapchat for, Disney's not gonna pay.
Dude, what do you talking about Disney? What do you think that today was the day, or it was the deadline that Disney was making a final offer to buy 21st Century Fox? Because last week, what was it? Comcast made an offer to buy Fox.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, Comcast said last week Disney made the offer in December. They were in
sucks.
negotiations to buy Fox for $52 billion. And last week,
Oh yeah, pocket change.
exactly. And then last week, Comcast said, "Hey, guess what, Fox? We'll buy you $65 billion cash." That's what I read. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it. If I am, people can correct me. But they went $65 billion. This is higher than Disney's offer. The deadline is today for Fox to make the decision. And the only reason that happens, I found out, I was like, wait a minute, why would the FCC, the government, allow this to happen? Because if they feel that it's not that it's gonna fuck up competition and it's gonna mess up the market, the government has the right to stop it. The buyout. Well, I found out that the government allowed it because a judge allowed AT&T to make an offer to buy Time Warner, and Time Warner, is Time Warner Cable. They own HBO. So this judge is like, okay, yeah, that could happen. And a lot of other judges are already speaking against it. They're like, that was a stupid decision. So Comcast took it upon themselves like, oh, well, if they allowed that, they're going to allow us to make an offer to fucking Fox.
I mean,
dude, that's crazy because
it also just convoluted, man.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy because I would like the original offer. I would like Fox to go to Disney. Why? Because Fox has X-Men. Disney is desperate in need of. They want X-Men because
I mean, I think desperate need is a little stretch.
Sorry, it's a little stretch, but they want it because it's they're they have Marvel and Disney.
Well, think about it. If they bring it back, they have everybody.
Everybody.
Back. At that point, they're not missing anything.
Right.
And can you imagine with what we've seen over the last 10 years with Marvel? Can you imagine what they would do if everybody was in house?
Dude, that would be so epic.
Can you imagine the crossover events that would happen?
We would.
And I understand that. I know that they're fixing to recast everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I kind of feel that coming. But at the same time, it would just be fresh to if the timing would work perfectly, really, with what the current timeline of everything seems to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the purchasing, by the time that they get the studios in, would be by the time that the second Infinity War comes out, and then we get a conclusion to what happened to everybody and what's going to happen going forward. But I mean, let's face it. Chris Evans is getting older. To be able to play Captain America and be able to keep playing that role, is he going to be able to do so? Then we have, Iron Man 2, that, Robert Downey Jr. that needs to be recast. So it's one of those cases where the timing would be perfect and it would be able to kind of reset everything from go and start a universe where everybody's together.
I agree. And that's why I was when they announced it in December, I was like, man, I really hope that Disney does buy Fox. That would be great. And then they have Avatar. They fucking got the Pandora World and fucking Magic Kingdom. So that would be great. It was just like more money for them. Avatar is the biggest grossing movie worldwide. They got Fox has four sequels planned. 2 already shot back to back or being shot, and the other 2 are going to be filmed in a couple years. So that would just
Can I be honest with you about Avatar, man?
What? Go ahead,
dude. I don't get why people like it because Avatar is essentially blue Pocahontas in space.
Okay, so you just read my mind. I've always thought the same thing. I've never been Google Gaga over Avatar. I've never drooled over it like a lot of people hold it in high praise. The only thing
don't get me wrong, graphically it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Right. Visually and 3D, it was amazing. Till today, 10 years later, it's really almost been 10 years. 10 years later, it is still the best looking 3D movie I own. I own it on 3D. I saw it in 3D in the cinema. Best 3D movie, best 3D experience I've ever seen. That's it. That's all it has. That's all it has.
Especially at the home,
right?
Because, and I will give it credit for that too, because I had a friend who had a 3D TV and he had a home of some movies as well, and none of them looked as good as Avatar. So
none of them.
Granted that it was visually stunning, but at the end of the day, it's blue Pocahontas in space.
Yeah, I own less than a dozen 3D Blu-rays. And Avatar is by far the best looking one. But that's to me, that's the only thing that stands out. It's like you said, it's Dances with Wolves, Pocahontas, John Carter of Mars.
That's right, Dances with Wolves too.
It's all of those things. But then again, a lot of movies, a lot of art, copies art, imitates art. They just add a little bit of things in here so they don't get sued for copyright, infringement.
Space and the color blue.
It's not Native Americans, dude. It's fucking blue aliens. Oh shit, yeah, we can't sue them because what judge in their right mind is gonna fucking go for that? No, the judge is gonna be like, you can't sue them because it's not Native Americans. It's fucking blue aliens. Oh, okay, you're safe. You know,
They're native aliens, not Native Americans. We only worry about America. America first.
exactly,
Make America great again.
exactly. You know, MAGA.
My God.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of that movie. I think that to me is the weakest movie that James Cameron has in his filmography. And I like his work. I like a lot of his past work, but
So
Avatar is
what
his
would you
weakest.
consider his strongest?
Okay, so good question. His strongest to me.
And this is my question because of the movie review side of me. Like I'm curious now.
No, it's perfect. Hey, we could talk shit whatever the fuck we want. So going back to my favorite James Cameron movie, I'm gonna go ahead and say if I can only choose one, I'm gonna say Aliens.
Okay.
There's
Fair.
other great ones. I love The Abyss. I love Terminator 2. There's a couple. Oh, True Lies is a great comedy, action comedy. But something about Aliens. I love the original Alien by Ridley Scott. You know, I thought it was a great little small suspense thriller. It scared the shit out of me as a kid. Even as an adult, horror movies. It's a little bit more difficult to scare me as an adult. But as a kid, I would shit my pants with the original Alien. When Aliens came out, I was a little older. It was in the mid 80s when it came out. I think it was 86, 87. And we had cable in the house. So, you know, my mom was kind of like, oh, you know, you shouldn't watch scary movies, this and that. I would literally go. I had a TV in my room. So I have two younger brothers. At one point, I was sleeping in my own room. My younger brothers were sleeping in another room. And I had a TV. And I had the original Nintendo hooked up to that TV, so my brothers would come over and we were playing Nintendo there. They had a TV in another room and they were playing some, I don't know what other console. And I would watch Aliens at night. My mom would say, "Hey, kids, it's bedtime. It's 9:00. Fuck that shit." At 9:15, I knew that the fucking Aliens was coming on that at 9:15 because I saw the preview. I would turn the TV on, put the volume on mute or very low, and I would piss my pants with fear from Aliens. Now, Aliens is not as scary because I'm sure you've seen it. I hope you have.
Oh yeah.
And it's a
rough.
non-stop balls to wall fucking war action movie. Has very little horror, but when James Cameron just took something and he elevated it with Aliens. He took a story that he didn't create because most of his work is usually stuff he creates himself. He took something that was originally created by someone else and he said, "You know what? I'm going to make it more badass." And he fucking did. And to this day, they were giving that shit on cable last week. My wife and I watch it all the time. That's the only reason I married my wife, by the way, because she loves Aliens. If it wasn't for that, I would not be married to her. So, you know, she's going to be listening to this. She's going to laugh.
It has nothing to do with personality.
No. It has to do with Aliens. I asked
her.
her, do you like Aliens? And she's like, fuck yes. When she answered me, fuck yes, I'm like, when are we getting married? That's it. So, literally, we watch that fucking movie all the time when it's on TV. Even if it's at the ending is amazing. But it's just a great fucking movie. And that's why I hold it high up there as my favorite Cameron movie. Then, you know, comes Terminator 2 and Abyss and blah, blah, blah. Avatar is way at the end. That's his weakest shit.
Fair enough.
But now, you answer that. What's your favorite Cameron?
I think I would have to say Terminator 2.
That was a good choice.
I think Terminator 2 would be the best one.
What about that film makes it your favorite?
I never really bought the original Terminator.
What about
For some reason, Schwarzenegger never really felt like a bad guy to me.
Really?
Like, yeah, like I understand that, you know, he's
big and muscle.
big and all,
yeah.
But it was never really intimidating. Even his accent, like, just made it a little more hysterical rather than intimidating to me. So it never really, I didn't really fit the character to me, you know? But in the second one, as the Protector,
Patrick,
that makes me feel, yeah, he fits that character.
And Robert Patrick was so great as the fucking T-1000.
Exactly, that's the other one, the T-1000. Friggin' liquid metal robot. What the hell? Fuck yeah, that's sweet.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
When I first saw that movie, and I was literally, I actually turned 10 that year. No, I was 9.5 going on 10. My birthday's November. So that movie came out Independence Day weekend. I remember because my mom took me to see it. At that point, my mom didn't care. You know, she would take us to see R-rated movies. You know, that's the cool thing about growing up in that time. You know, another time, you know, most parents Even nowadays they still do it. She took me to see R-rated movies. She wouldn't take me to see horror movies, but she would take me to see like R-rated action movies because they were fun. They still are. So she took me to see that movie, and as a kid, as an almost 10-year-old, watching the fucking T-1000 first time morph into a fucking liquid metal, I took a shit in my pants. I was like, holy fuck, I've never seen nothing like this, and nobody had. It was like the breakthrough CGI at the time, and that's just, it's that image is just implanted in my brain.
Yeah.
That fucking,
I don't know. It's the scene where he was chasing the car. That's
badass.
That was the most terrifying one for me. Or when he was going through the bars as well. That was the best one for me. But that movie, it just kind of seemed like a more complete story. You know what I mean? That's the reason why the second one is the best for me. You have a way better mom than I have to let you watch R-rated movies.
Oh, really?
I basically had to sneak mine. Yeah, no, I had to sneak mine in. Or mine just happened to be that my parents got it for them. My brother and I would grab the tape and just sneak it off to the other room and watch it over there. But, I don't know.
No,
it does bring me warm memories of my childhood, though, and my brother and his fear of Terminator, for example.
Dude, that movie is fucking amazing, but at the same time, like you said, it's a little freaky, man. It just I used to have dreams about that shit, like the fucking T-1000 going inside my bedroom as a kid. I'm like, and stabbing me with his fucking knives arms or this arm, whatever. I'm like, what the fuck, But
oh man.
Now going to Terminator, have you seen the alternate versions or just the original version?
No, just the originals. I've basically watched Terminator 1, 2, 3, and stopped.
You have to
and
see.
I have not seen anything else.
There's two versions of Terminator 2. The DVD, the most recent Blu-ray. Actually, there's two Blu-rays, but they both have both versions. I would recommend you give it a chance because it actually has I think it's an extra 10 minutes of footage. Mm-hmm. It has, without giving anything away, it has an extended ending.
Interesting.
Yeah, it has an extended ending involving Sarah Connor. It has a flashback sequence. Actually, you haven't done a Control C about that, right?
No, I haven't.
Dude, you gotta do a Control C about Terminator 2 because you fucking love it. I'm sure the other people wouldn't mind. I mean, I don't know them.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind. See, we have a bad habit over our Control C. Whenever we talk about a movie that is in a series, we have the bad habit of wanting to watch the entire series.
Oh, in chronological order.
And either release an episode each or release one episode that covers multiple ones. And then it just gets convoluted. So it would turn out to be, rather than being a Terminator 2 review, it would turn out to be a Terminator Saga review. Which does sound like a pretty interesting thing, but we've done other marathons in the past where we'll release an episode per movie, like we did it for the Evil Dead series. We did Evil Dead 1 week, Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead 3, and then the remake of the original.
Oh, I gotta go back then.
We released it over a 4-week span.
Yeah.
And it would, for some reason, it felt like it didn't play too well with the listeners because it seems like it might have been too much Evil Dead at the same time. So ever since, we're trying to do like more condensed and just do like one episode covering multiple things.
Right.
But then the problem when you do it that way, it's that you end up discussing everything rather than focusing on the one. So, but I will watch it on my own, and I'll come back and do an episode with you where we'll fucking talk about it if you want.
Oh, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, we could do it here or anywhere. But yeah, I mean, you could watch it and then obviously come back and let us know what you think of it. But it's just I'm not even gonna say what other scenes there's in because I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, it's definitely worth watching. I actually prefer that version. As an adult watching it makes a lot more sense. James Cameron himself said he took it out because of timing. It actually makes it a 2.5 hour movie, and the original cut is only 2 hours and 20 or 15 minutes. So it was just an extra 10-15 minutes added that the studio, I guess, kind of forced them. Hey, can you cut that shit out? We don't really need that. It's just dialogue. Most of it's dialogue. There's only one scene that had a special effect involved that was extended, and and that's it. Everything else is just dialogue. But the dialogue that makes sense, it adds to the story. Yeah, definitely, you gotta watch it. I'm surprised. I was like, fuck. Actually, going back.
I'll check it out. It out.
Going back. Let's go a little bit about you now. We'll come back into other stuff later.
Sure.
So, you mentioned you're part Italian.
Yes.
What's the other part?
Colombian.
Oh, okay, Colombiano. So you watching the World Cup?
No, I'm not. I'm tired of being disappointed.
Dude, they got whooped.
I'm tired of being disappointed by both sides.
Man.
The World Cup, and La Copa Latina and everything that comes, I'm just like, I want to be happy about it, but the minute I show excitement, I get disappointed and I'm just over it.
It happens.
Well, because the thing is this, both countries, let's face it, both Italy and Colombia are amazing at soccer, realistically.
Yes.
Here's the issue they have, though. The minute they start winning, they get cocky.
Of course.
And because they get cocky, they start sucking.
A lot of teams have that issue.
So it's one of those like, okay, man, if you want to fuck around after having this much victory and throw it all away, by all means. But at this point, if you make it to the finals, I'll care then. Don't get me wrong. I will watch the finals. That I will watch. But I'm not going to waste my time with other prelims. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually think, I'm predicting that it might end up being, Germany has a great team this year. and France too, but I don't know. France is showing me otherwise.
All right. So here, I'm going to make a prediction. I have not watched anything.
Okay.
So I'm out of the loop in terms of how well they're doing. But I'm going to make a prediction, and I'm going to see if I make it, if I can get it right just by guessing. So who is currently still in?
Everybody, because it's only been the first week.
It's only been the first week? Okay. With everybody, I fear I'm going to say Germany makes it to the finals.
That's okay. So you and I are in the same boat.
Germany's going to make it to the finals.
I'm leaning more towards Germany making it to the final than France. Although those are my top two teams that I predict might make it to the finals, but I think Germany has a better chance.
I think Argentina might get close, but I don't know if they'll make it all the way.
Brazil, I was leaning towards Brazil, but I'm like, damn, dude, they've disappointed me before, man. I don't know. That's why I had to take them out of my prediction of my,
I mean, I am hearing that Mexico has a really strong team this time.
That's what I've heard.
I mean, and I believe, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the last cup, Mexico made it pretty far, didn't they?
I don't think they made it to the finals, but they did make it somewhat
But there was
far.
a point where people were like, "Holy crap, they might make it."
They surprised people. Yes, they did surprise people. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they learned from that, maybe, but I don't know. But I'm gonna go for Germany, and I'm gonna go for Argentina.
Okay.
Full point if I get both of them right. Half a point if I get one of them right.
All right. Fair enough. And then going back to where did you grow up?
I grew up in Venezuela.
Oh, really? So Italian Colombian grew up in Venezuela.
Yeah, Italian Colombian, born in Colombia, grew up in Venezuela. I was there till I was 8 years old or so.
Uh-huh.
And that's when we came to the U.S. And ironically enough, with all the immigration talk, I'm the only one of my family that came here legally.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because I came on a student visa. Now, shortly after they got here, everything got straightened out. But
technically, you were here.
But technically speaking, legally. I was here legally before they were. Got it. Like, they were here on, like, visitor visas, you know what I mean? I guess is what they're called. So they were still technically legal in terms of,
yeah, like you said, they had the
you
visa.
can stay here for this amount of time, etc. But I was the only one with like papers to stay here for, the foreseeable future.
For as long as you want.
Because I came with a student visa. Yeah, basically as long as I went to school here, I could have stayed.
Where in Florida? Oh, sorry, not Florida. Where in the U.S. did you grow up in? Well,
in Florida, in Miami.
Oh, okay. That's right.
So we left when I was 8, and I got to Miami, and then I was there until 2008. and
shit.
then I moved to Jacksonville, where I am right now.
Now you moved to Jacksonville with your family or on your own? How did that work out? Or how was
Oh
it?
no, I moved to Jacksonville on my own.
Why the sudden shift from the south all the way to the very tippy north?
When it boils down to it, too many Latinos in one spot creates a lot of tension, and people are just rude all the time.
I never heard that.
Curse all the time, and dude.
But I agree with
I
you.
go
I
down
see
to
what you're
Miami.
saying.
I go down to Miami, and people, if you look eyes at someone, like you're walking down the hall, if you look at somebody in the eye,
Right.
they'll give you this face. It's like, what the fuck are you looking at, dude?
Yeah, dude. I hate that shit.
Here in Jacksonville, I lock eyes with somebody, and before I can even say it, they're like, hey, good morning, how's it going?
How's it going? Yeah. Yes.
You know
you're
what
right.
I mean?
I haven't driven through Jacksonville often, but that one time that I did years ago, it's nice. It wasn't, nothing too. It's very laid back. A lot different than Miami, obviously. A lot
Yeah,
different.
there's a lot more green here. That's for
Yes.
sure. It's almost sad whenever I go back home to visit in Miami.
Mhm.
It's almost sad how much more concrete there seems to be from the last time I was
Dude,
there.
there's so much construction lately in South Florida. It's crazy.
You know. Oh, speaking of construction too, just because it popped in my head. And you're closer to where I used to live than I am.
Yeah.
Whatever happened with that building or that bridge that broke at FIU?
Oh, nothing because sure something happened, but I have no clue because again, how social media works is that after 3 or 4 days, here
Nobody
comes
else
something
gives a
new.
shit.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Either the fucking king or prince gets married, fucking school shooting happened, and then the attention's on that. It's like okay. The last thing I heard, this is what I read, is that the company that constructed was in charge of the construction had done other shit jobs in South Florida. They were banned, or Broward banned them just a few months, or I think almost a year before they were hired by Miami-Dade. And it seems that there was some kind of corruption scheme that, they gave a little money. Oh yeah, cover that up. Even though we had a little fuck up here, we'll build your bridge. Just don't tell anybody what we did in the past.
Hey, it wouldn't be Miami if there weren't corruption.
But it's
okay?
exactly. It's corruption everywhere. It's just eeasier in Miami, I guess.
Bad Boys 2 had better lighting. That was
Dude.
it.
Yes, it did.
But it's just how it is.
Yeah.
But nah, man, I'm concerned for two reasons. One, because of my family down there and stuff. I freaked out when I heard what happened. I started, calling everybody because it landed on a road that everybody that I know takes on a daily basis.
Yes.
So it kind of freaked me out. But like at this point too, I'm also concerned because I'm gonna be in Miami next week.
That's right, dude.
So I want to avoid traffic as best as I can.
Yeah, I remember you
Just
mentioned
clicked in my
that.
head.
So we gotta figure out a schedule to like hang out and shit.
Let me know. We'll talk about what days I'm there.
Yeah.
On text message off air. But yeah, let
For
me know
sure.
what plans up.
What part of Miami? You said, is it Kendall? Is
Yeah.
that where you're visiting?
So like, my dad is in Kendall. My mom just moved, and I have no clue where she's at, to be honest with you.
Oh,
But,
she's one of those moms. I know how those moms. My mom is a little wacky like that too. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
she moved. I don't really know where she is. My mom and I don't have the best relationship either, so
yeah, that
I
happens.
have no idea. So she used to be in Sunrise. She's no longer there. I know that. But my dad's in Kendall. That's who I'm gonna be staying with.
Cool.
So pretty nice area. I was mostly in Kendall. When I was little, I lived near Sweetwater, but not in Sweetwater. So like,
I
I
went
don't
to
know if you
school in
remember
Sweetwater.
or if you've ever heard of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Elementary.
I went to. I'm gonna give you a little pop quiz here. I went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas for 1 year
Oh, nice.
in Sweetwater, right?
Yep.
I went there.
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Sweetwater. All right.
I went
So if
there.
you can imagine where that school is, instead of going towards Sweetwater, go toward the opposite end, and that's where I lived, in that neighborhood in the back.
Oh, okay.
So, that's where I lived up until my parents divorced when I was 19, 20 years old or something. So,
And then you packed your
Yeah.
bags and went to Jacksonville.
yeah,
Oh.
at some point, my band, because I was also in a band,
Mm-hmm.
had broken up. We were negotiating a contract to be the starring artist for like this brand new record label, and because we have the potential to make money,
Right.
everybody in the band, probably including me, I'm not gonna deny that I probably did something stupid too,
Well, everybody's
but
young,
we all became divas, and then at that point it just led to the breakup of the
yeah. And
band.
it happens a lot, dude. It happens a lot.
Yeah, and it's kind
Yeah.
of stupid because we would have made mad money just sitting around making music, but kids essentially.
What
And
what did you play on the band?
on the band I was vocals.
Okay, vocals. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I was vocals, but I play guitar, bass, piano, and drums. I'm not that good
Sweet.
at piano, and I am okay at drums.
I did pianos in high school or keyboard, but I wasn't that good. It was just 1 year in high school. That's it. My counselor's like, "Oh, you need a fine art credit." I'm like, "What? Fine art? Why? I'm not gonna be in a band. Oh, okay, fuck it. Just put me in keyboard." So I went to that. She's like, "Oh, you could take band." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I don't want. I just want keyboard. It's easy." That's
Nice.
it.
So the band broke up, and then at that point it was like, okay,
Hmm.
what am I gonna do with my life now? Because at that point I had dropped out of school because I was wasting too much money. None of the majors I was looking at were
Uh-huh.
really what I actually wanted.
And this is all in
So
Jacksonville.
no, this is all in Miami
Oh,
still.
the band is still in Miami. The contract was still in
Yeah, the
Miami.
band is
Okay,
still in Miami. Everything's still in Miami.
got it.
So then I'm looking at it as like the majors I'm going for aren't really what I'm looking for. So I dropped out of school. I did the band full time thing for like 3 years,
Okay.
and then the band breaks up when we finally get somewhere, and I'm like, God damn, this sucks. So what am I gonna do?
Right.
So then I started thinking about it, and it was like, maybe I'll go back to school. I mean, the only reason I left school was to pursue
The
the
career.
band career.
Hmm.
And if that didn't take off, well, fuck it. I'm still young. Let me go back to school.
Yeah.
So I started looking and looking, and at that point, luckily, my stepmom sat me down one day, and she was like, what did you actually want to do with your life?
Right.
And I was like, well, I mean, when I was younger, what I really wanted to do was be a chef, but
Okay.
my dad would always tell me that it was a bad idea. So
Huh.
she ended up kind of like talking to my dad and calling him stupid, essentially. And she was a very big part into why I decided to go to culinary school. So then when culinary school came, I started looking around, and I was like, okay, well,
Uh-huh.
where do I want to go? And at the time, I was long distance dating this chick, and
Let me guess. She was in Jacksonville.
she was in Jacksonville.
Got it.
And I wanted to leave Miami because I was sick of it.
I don't
Because
blame you,
again,
man.
people are too rude and everything. And I was like, all right, fuck it. Let me move away. So do I go to Orlando? Do I go out of state? Do I do this? Do I do that?
Uh-huh.
But I don't want to go out of state because college is more expensive when you're out of
Well,
state. So
yeah.
let's stay in Jackson, let's stay in Florida.
Right.
And then I was like, well, me and this girl have been essentially dating for, I don't remember at the time how long it was, but it had been a pretty good amount of time. And I figured, well, I'll go up there for school. It'll give me the opportunity because there was an art institute here in
Mhm.
Jacksonville. So I said, okay, well, there's an art institute in Fort Lauderdale, but because I live in Miami, my parents aren't going to let me, move out to pay for rent to go to school, an hour and a half away.
Right.
There was one of those cases, and not that I needed their permission, but they would have basically tried to talk me out of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And at the same time, I really wanted to get the fuck away from my parents. So the next closest art institute, because I really wanted to go to the art institute, was Jacksonville, which was actually one of their newer ones.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, sweet, it's a newer school. That means new equipment. That means new resources. It's right there where the girl I've been, talking to or whatever
Uh-huh.
lives. It'll give me the opportunity to go to school for what I want to do. It'll give me the opportunity to get to know this girl. And then if things go well with the girl, sweet. If things don't go well with the girl, then fuck it. I'll come back home, or I'll stay, or I'll go somewhere else.
Right.
And it didn't take long for me and the girl to end.
Right. Shortly after that, it ended.
I moved to Jacksonville on January 8th,
Okay.
2008.
Damn, that's a good fucking
So
memory, dude.
it just hit, yeah, it just hit 10 years this year.
Okay.
So I moved in January. We were done by February like 5th or some shit.
Damn.
We were done before Valentine's.
All it took was 4 weeks.
Well, because it turns out, because there's a saying in Spanish, relación de distancia feliz los cuatro.
Yep. Long distance
All right?
relationship, everybody's happy.
Exactly. Long distance relationships, all four are happy.
Yeah.
So, except I didn't realize that I could also be happy.
Exactly.
So,
A lot of
what ended up
times we don't
happening
realize
is that this whole time that she was dating me,
somebody else was involved.
she was dating somebody else as
It
well.
happens. Yeah.
Basically cheating on both of us with each other.
Ah.
And so because she couldn't keep up the ruse, because I kept giving her shit, because I'm like, I moved up here, we're together, I've seen you once in the last 3 weeks. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, at that point you
You
would have
know?
been like, "Yo, what's going on?"
Like, if you don't want to see me, and if you don't want to spend time with me in person, if you're too busy for a relationship, just fucking tell me. I don't care.
Right.
But don't fucking let me sit here. You know, that's bullshit.
Waiting around
So-
until she shows up.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So it ended. She continued to cheat on her boyfriend with me.
Okay.
For a little while,
That's
until I
fine.
got sick of it, until
Right.
I made friends, because I only had one friend here. You know what I
Right,
mean?
you
I
had-
came to
you-
Jacksonville with nothing.
You didn't know anybody. Yeah.
I knew absolutely nobody. And when, brand new school, brand new everything, you don't make friends the first day. And
course.
I'm not a very social person. Like, I go to the party and I'm the dude standing in the wall, and I can entertain people, but somebody's going to have to come talk to me first. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't invite myself to other people's situations.
Hey, I'm Chris.
You know what I mean?
Not
Exactly.
Not like
It
that.
sometimes I do, don't get me wrong. There are times, and it's usually when I'm trying to help somebody else fit into a group. So when I'm trying to help somebody else, I can be that wingman for them, but
Mhm.
for myself, I don't feel the need to bother, I guess. So yeah, it took me a little bit to make friends. So, sadly, I let her continue to cheat on her boyfriend with me. And then I moved on. So then, yeah, and after I finished school and everything, I actually kind of enjoyed living by myself. I'm close enough to home that I can make it in an emergency pretty quickly. It's 5 to 6 hours, but even then, 5 to 6 hours is not too bad.
5 to 6
considering,
hours if there's no traffic.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Got it.
But that's not too bad when
No?
you consider everything. Something happens, I can be there before something gets serious.
Mhm.
So I enjoyed living on my own. It's a lot more affordable to live here than it is to live down there,
You
let
can
me
say
tell
that
you.
shit again. It's fucking expensive here, man.
I'll put it to you this way.
Jeez.
I guarantee you that I pay less for the house that I own than you do for the apartment you rent.
I would not put that past you, sir. I would.
Here,
I would not put that
let's
past
put it this
you.
way. Without giving exact numbers, do you pay over $1,000?
Over 1,000, I know you're gonna say you pay under.
I pay under.
You see,
And it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom situation.
Fuck, I am in a 2-2.
Like, the downside to my home is that it's a townhome, but fuck it, I own it.
Look, I'm gonna say the other day I was looking at numbers. And now where I rent, this is a rental condo. It's a private owner. It's not one of these big complexes that it's owned by some management company. No, it's just a private owner. So the
Yeah.
private owner for this 2-2 in Pembroke Pines gives me a sweet fucking rent, dude. Like fucking sweet. So sweet that 2 years ago I was just let me see what's out there. The rent 2 years ago for a 2-2 were in my city was $1,500. Now 2 years later, 2018, I'm pretty sure it's like $1,600-$1,700.
I wouldn't doubt it, man. I
Fucking
definitely would not doubt
fucking
it.
crazy.
I know that in Kendall, my dad, when the divorce happened, he bought a home, and he bought it for 380 something thousand, and it was huge. Don't get me wrong. It was, to be honest with you, it was worth every penny.
Okay.
And in less than a year, it was already at 500,000.
Holy shit.
It took less than a year. It was already at 500,000. It was like that kind of increase is kind of unheard of.
It's
You know what I
insane,
mean?
dude. It's totally
It's
insane.
insane.
It's insane, dude. It's my wife and I are looking. We're not ready to buy a home, but we're just looking around, seeing. Oh, look, this looks nice. This looks nice. Or this city, this town here. It's close to us. This looks nice. When we check like the same size home because we're in Broward, but when we check the same size home in Miami-Dade County, it's almost 30% or 40% more money. I was like, fuck that. And I even told her, I'm like, I'm never gonna live in Miami ever again. I haven't lived in Miami in 9 years. I'm not going back. Fuck that. I'd rather keep going north. Right now, I've been living in Broward for the past 5 years. I want to keep going north. If we don't find something in Broward, we go to fucking West Palm. That doesn't work there. I'll call Chris. Hey, yo, Chris, what's up in Jacksonville? Give me a house over there.
To Jacksonville, dude. There's no point to living in Miami. That shit's too expensive, and it's way too much money. The taxes are ridiculous. Every road has
There's
a toll.
a lot
What
of
the
fake
fuck,
people
man?
here too, man. I was listening to a podcast today, like, oh no, my LA is so fake, and I was in the back of my mind, I was thinking, LA and Miami are so fake. I think it's because the weather is warm. They have palm trees. Maybe it's something to do with palm trees that make people fake. I mean, not all people, but like 50% of the population in both cities. I don't know. I just don't fucking like Miami, man. I'm tired of it. I grew up here. I don't like it.
Like I said, all the love for my Latino fellows, and well, not fellows, just like everybody Latino, ladies and gentlemen, whatever. But there's too many of y'all in
dude.
one spot.
It's
you guys need to spread a little more throughout the country.
It's fucking
and
crowded.
then things will even out.
Dude, I drive to Tampa, to Jacksonville. There's a bunch of land, and Florida's fucking huge. There's a lot of empty space, plenty of room for many people to live all over Florida. Yet they all decided to come to South Florida or Orlando. Orlando's overcrowded. I was talking to my brother, and I was like, dude, my brother goes to Orlando a lot with his wife and kids. You know, I always joke with him, like, you should buy a house there. He replies his response to me, I would, but the wife doesn't want you to move here. Now I haven't really asked her why, but I think it has to do with the overpopulation, because Orlando's fucking crowded, man.
Well, there's traffic everywhere.
Yeah,
and I mean, I don't blame them. It's a beautiful place.
Construction everywhere, and damn.
But I mean, like, I don't know if Jacksonville is still called this. I know that when I first moved here, it used to be. Jacksonville used to be called the biggest little city, because technically it's huge.
Yeah.
It's freaking gigantic, landmass size. But when it comes to population, it's freaking tiny.
Tiny.
You know what I mean? It's pretty much old country type of thing, but
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that said, there's a whole mess of room here.
So
there's
it has that big city appeal. It has that big city appeal with low population.
Exactly. There's still green. There's still places to expand. There's still places to build homes. Hell, in Miami, where I used to live, we're still far deep into Miccosukee territory that we're almost living in the casino. You know what I mean?
I think we were neighbors at one point. I used to live close. Maybe I would say a few minutes away from the Miccosukee Casino, a few blocks, maybe a few minutes away from FIU, the campus. Growing up, that was the last home we lived in before my parents split up.
Basically, at one point I lived on not 8th Street, on or was it 8th Street? I don't remember. It's that road that you take to get to Miccosukee. I used to live like the last left that you can make before the Miccosukee.
Right.
That's where I used to live.
Holy fuck. Way down there.
Yeah, way down there. I could walk to Miccosukee and be there in like 15, 20 minutes.
I think I remember the address. I don't give a fuck. So if anybody goes to that
If
house, I don't live there.
sorry.
I think the address was 136 something. I don't know if it was Northwest or Southwest 115th Court or some shit like that, or street. But I think that was my address. That's where I lived. I don't know if that's close to the Miccosukee or not, but I think it was.
I don't remember. For some reason, I want to say 16420. Yeah, I think that's what it was. 16420 Southwest 8th.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, close to that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It seems right. I don't know if it is right. I know that.
What year?
I went to Braddock.
Okay. Oh no, I see. I had already left. I went to my parents split up when I was summer of 91. went to Connecticut where my mom's family was. My mom packed all our shit and took us to Connecticut where her family was. Her parents were there, her aunts. I mean, sorry, her sisters, her brothers. We lived in Connecticut until 95. And then in 95, my mom decided in winter of 95, she's like, it's too fucking cold. Let's go back to Miami. Okay, we packed our shit when we went back to Miami. So we were only in Connecticut for like 4 years almost. And I think I was in Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Elementary?
Yeah.
Wasn't that school like literally next to Sweetwater Elementary or something like that? I don't remember the actual.
It was next to Paul W. Bell Middle.
Okay. So, well, I think there was a Sweetwater Elementary, and then there was
Sweetwater Elementary. I think was next to something Reuben. I want to say.
Okay. That's where. Well, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where I was. What I recall, it was just a bunch of like, what do they call it? Portables or trailers? That classrooms? Is that what they call those classrooms? That there are?
Yeah, portables.
Like, right, portables. And that was in the year I was in third grade. Was it third grade? Yeah, so that must have been like 89, 88. Did you go to that school around that time, or was it a different time?
I'm trying to.
That'd be fucking weird if we went around the same time.
We moved to the U.S. around on 94.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. I was already
93,
out.
94.
Yeah, I was.
Well,
already
no.
out.
I was 8 years old, so I was in elementary school in 94.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought you and I were close in age. I guess I'm older than you.
No, you are older than me. How old are you now?
I'm 36.
Yeah, see, I'm 30.
You don't want to say it. It's okay.
No. I think I'm 33. Here's the thing. I don't really celebrate anything, including my birthday.
Okay.
So I don't ever really pay too much attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing is, my wife one year decided to throw me a surprise birthday party. But because I don't celebrate my birthday and she knows that I don't like to celebrate my birthday, she threw me a half birthday party.
Half birthday.
So because I pay so little attention to my birthday, like I know what day it is, but I pay so little attention to when it gets here and stuff that I'm now confused on whether I'm 33 or 34 years old.
Okay.
So I just did the math. I was born in 1984 on October.
Okay.
So, based on my calculator, I'm turning 34 this year.
Okay, you'll be 34.
I will be 34.
All right, fair enough.
So it's
we're close.
If you were in Marjorie for only 1 year,
it was just 1 year.
I doubt it. Unfortunately, I mean, there's a possibility that maybe, but the odds of being right on time. Because what grade were you at?
Okay, so third grade, I believe. Yeah, third grade because
see, if you were in third grade, I would have been too young to be.
Yeah, you were in
Marjorie
first.
at the same time.
You would have been in first or kindergarten. So I remember all the schools. I think it was Edison. I went to a private school only for like 2 years, kindergarten and first grade. It was Edison private school, and then I went to Royal Palm Elementary. Then I went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and then my mom is like, "Okay, your dad and I split up. Let's get the fuck out of here."
Oh damn!
That was that.
Did she put it in those words too?
No, she didn't say it like that. she wouldn't. She wasn't cursing at us.
Dad and I split up. Fuck this shit.
No. She just said, "Pack your shit. We're leaving." But damn, dude, that's fucking crazy. The whole Jacksonville thing, and you were, at least you went there. You went to school, culinary school. So what happened after that? Like, did you become this amazing chef, or did the life kind of take you in another direction?
No, I did the professional catering gig for a while.
Okay.
And it was one of those where I was doing private catering, and then the economy started getting kind of shitty. And because of that, I ended up I was living with a new girlfriend at the time. Okay. And basically we were both bringing in the money to the household. Now the problem with catering is that one weekend I could bring
a lot of money.
Yeah, $2,500 in, made in 72 hours.
Not bad.
And that'd be nice because that's like the money that I'm bringing home personally, not the money that I'm paying my staff and not the money that I'm putting toward the company. That's my pay.
Got it.
But if I can't book a gig every 2 weeks, for example, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It becomes a problem.
Exactly. And unfortunately, when the economy gets bad, one of the first things people stop doing is catering.
Catering.
I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. When I got married, I didn't cater anything. Even though I'm a chef, I didn't cater anything. I didn't hire any of my friends. I didn't hire anybody else. We made an invitation to people and said, instead, in lieu of gifts, bring a bottle of wine, your favorite wine, and bring something to eat. Doesn't matter whether it's homemade, doesn't matter where you bought it, just bring something to eat. And I had a potluck wedding, and that's what I did, for example.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because of the economy situation. So what do people first do when the economy gets bad? They cut things out like catering.
Little things out, yeah.
You know, so then my business was slow. And then the girl that I was living with at the time ended up losing her job. So then because she lost her job and she had taken most of the financial burden, you know what I mean? I felt responsible, and I was like, rather than keep pursuing my company, I'm going to put it aside,
right?
And I'm going to look for a job to help us get out of this rut, to make sure that we're okay.
Got it.
And I found a job, and I've been there since.
Okay. So at least it's sort of kind of worked out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with what I do now. I've moved up in the company that I'm in now. I've been there now for, what is it, gonna be 8 years coming up. So, you know, it's a pretty decent company. It's not necessarily my passion. You know what I mean?
Of course. You and I have talked about it. It's not where I am now. It's not our passion.
It came at a good time. Yeah. It's provided me with a great job. It's provided me with great benefits.
Gives you food and your family food. That's it.
Feeds the food, feeds my family and everything. So that aspect is great. But it's not, my passion project. My passion project, at the time was catering, and I put that aside. But because of the financial struggles and how much money it takes to, build a clientele and this and that, it became, at one point, it didn't become feasible because I was young. I was living by myself. I was paying everything. I had, my car kept breaking down and things of that nature. So, and then, of course, the other thing that I forgot to mention, too, the girl and I had split.
Okay.
So what used to be 2 incomes, because she did end up finding another job as well.
Okay.
What used to be 2 incomes became my only income. Sure. So then things became a little more difficult. So I couldn't really afford to stop where I was and go back to catering. And then I ended up growing to like my job and get opportunities presented to me. And it became something that I was enjoying. So then I just basically stayed.
You stayed.
And that's where I am right now, yeah, for my 9 to 5.
And do you see yourself at some point, or have you thought about it, going back to catering?
I do. I think I still will at some point. It's just one of those things. Well, realistically, I can do catering and still maintain my regular 9 to 5 and then still maintain my podcast.
So you've actually thought about that, actually doing both?
Yeah, so I've thought about doing both, and I've also thought about doing things more by appointment than by, open invitation or open acceptance.
Right.
Where I'll do an event here and I'll do an event there.
Right.
But then you also kind of have to outweigh everything because, fast forward the story of my life and how I got here. I met an amazing woman and ended up falling in love. And she brought in a child into my life, my stepson.
Right.
And then me and her had a child. So now we have 2 children together. And,
right. So the timing, your time would be limited with them. You would, if you decide to do the catering, you could. It's not that you can't. It's just time with your family will be very limited.
Family. And like, for example, with my regular 9 to 5 job, I start work at 6 a.m., which means that I go to bed by 7:30, 7:45. So the time that I get with my family, like I get out at like 2:45. I get out by like 3. But by the time I pick up the kids and by the time I get home and the time we eat dinner, I only really have like 2 hours with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that said, it's like I want to, and I probably will, but I have to be a little more selective in terms of how I'm going to spend my time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And family, a lot of people make that sacrifice. As I'm sure, you've known people or even, parents and other family members, you've seen them make that sacrifice where they choose to provide, but at the same time they're limited time with family. And you only get that once, dude, and you don't want to miss that out. So I think you're making, even though it's probably not the choice you want of job wise, but at least you're doing the choice for your family. At least you're going to be involved.
Yeah, basically,
and not miss out little things like that.
And every now and then, like one thing, for example, if you hadn't just gotten married, if we had known each other longer, and you would have been like, "Hey, man, will you cater my wedding?"
Right.
Hell yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. I'll set you up, and we'll figure it out. But I'm also less inclined to take a bridezilla who got my name from a friend of hers that wants a $5,000 chafing dish, but only wants to pay me $300
yeah,
for
no.
And that actually happened.
Oh,
she
shit.
wanted. I showed her pictures of the chafing dishes that we could offer, and she picked the most expensive one. And when I quoted her, she lost her shit and started cussing me out. She's like, "No, I'm not going to pay more than $300." And I looked her dead in the eye and I was like, "Then you're not getting shit.
You're not getting shit.
You're not getting it. Like, I'm not going to pay for your wedding."
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
true. That's crazy. So I know that your time is limited because you just gave me a little hint that it's almost time for 7:45.
No, ironically, that wasn't even meant as a hint.
No, I know.
When you mentioned it, I looked down and I said, "Oh shit!" And
Dude,
actually, it's coming up.
So, but I want to cut to the nitty gritty. So, what made you decide? Hey, I want to do my own podcast. And what was it called? Has it always been Control C, or was there something before that?
No, it's always been Geek and Cast.
Got it. Okay.
That is a name that I came up with. Essentially, this all started. I'm trying to remember what movie. Now You See Me.
Oh, okay, yes. That's the one with the magicians that they do
tricks? The one with the magicians that steal money.
Got it.
It all started with that movie. So
that
I'm
was
sitting at
like
work.
2011 or 2012, or maybe after that.
No, that was
2013. I think it was 2013.
Let's see. I don't know. Look at it.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
2013.
Okay.
So 2013, we're at work and I'm talking with my friend Richard and then my friend Nathan, and we start talking about whether it's a good movie or not.
Oh, okay.
And I'm of the mind that it is. My friend Nathan is of the mind that it is. And my friend Richard is of the mind that it's not. So we start, of course, bickering and arguing back and forth. And I had just finally gotten into podcasts because I kind of got tired of listening to the same music all the time. Because I kind of like the same music and I kind of stick to my music, and very rarely do I listen to new music because I'm too busy listening to my own music.
Everybody does. Everybody listens to the same shit.
You know what I mean?
But radio sucks, dude. I agree with you.
So one of those cases where I just kind of needed a break. So I started listening to podcasting, and then as we're arguing, I'm like, man, this would make a great show. So we start talking about it, and my friend Nathan and I decide, okay, why don't we start something? So we start trying to plan what would eventually become Geek and Cast.
Okay.
The only problem that I had with Nathan is that the only contribution that he was able to give for X, Y, or Z reason, I don't really care. I don't blame him. I don't, nothing.
Right.
No ill feelings at all. But the only thing he contributed was the name to the show that he wanted to do with me, which was supposed to be about games. And he wanted to call it Night in Geekphoria.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't too keen on it. I liked the Geekphoria part. I said, fuck it. Let's do it. But then it became apparent that, unfortunately, as much as I think Nathan wanted to do it, I'm assuming he just didn't have the time. You know what I mean?
He didn't have the time. Okay.
I guess it was, or maybe he didn't think I was serious. you know, because there's one of those things like, you know how there's people who say a lot of things and don't come through with things.
Oh yeah, I know that.
So I don't know if it's maybe he thought I was talking shit or that I was kidding about the
And you
whole
shocked
deal.
them when you're like, "Hey, I'm ready," and you're like, "What? You're ready?"
Yeah,
to
I
do
was
it.
like, all right, let's do this, let's do that, and I have a website and this, and he did nothing. So I ended up giving up the idea. And then during the beginning stages of Geek and Cast, I really wanted to try to open the network with a shit ton of shows because I originally thought if I put out a network and we hit it hard,
Right.
it's gonna hit somewhere. You know,
Right,
the theory that if you throw something everywhere, it's gonna hit something.
It's gonna stick.
Yeah. So I burned out very fucking quickly.
It happens. A lot of people, doing my research, and you probably did your research as well afterwards or even before that. A lot of people burn out.
After the burnout, I did more research.
A lot of people burn out, and a lot of podcasts actually don't make it past a year. After even close to the year mark, or right before the year mark, they just stop. A lot of them stop.
Yeah. Well, because you have multiple personalities, you have different styles, you have different this, you have different that. So it makes perfect sense as to why it's so difficult. It's the band mentality, but here's the kicker. I've been in multiple bands, so I was prepared for it, you know?
You knew the ropes around it, and while Nathan probably didn't
Correct.
know. Yeah.
And at the same time, it's one of those things that because I've been in music and because I've recorded albums and because I've done shows and I already knew how to work sound equipment. You know what I mean?
So
I already knew how to
nature
work recording equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those where not necessarily second nature because it had been a long time. I mean, the last album I released was in the neighborhood of 2006.
You were familiar with the equipment, how to work it, at least. You were like the gist of it.
Yeah, so it's like I knew what I did back then, so it must not have changed that much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And when it comes to podcasting, it's just getting a nice little mixing software, a mixing board, and you're ready to go, and some microphones.
Exactly. It's not as complicated as music. Like I edit my shows a lot, you know what I mean? And I put a little touches to detail here and there, and I try to get everything as perfect as I can.
Right.
But at the same time, the knowledge I would need would either come to me, I would learn it as I go, and what I really needed, I can probably remember. So I was ready to go. I was ready to do this from the get-go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when he ended up not really following through with stuff because he didn't have the time, I kind of gave up. And then a friend of mine who had talked about for one of the show ideas, Lindsay, she ended up telling me that she would be interested in helping me. You know, she's like, I can help you get things rolling. I believe when she originally told me, she's like, I can kind of act like a secretary if you need me to. I'll help you get this rolling. Because she was really interested in podcasting too, because she has things to say. So, when we talked about it, I was like, well, if you're going to do this with me, you're going to be my business partner because I don't want you to, in an essence, like, I don't want it to seem like you work for me. You know what I mean? You're helping me build my dream. You're my partner, you know?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So she became my partner. And then with Lindsay, we basically lit a fire under everything. We started planning things with timelines. We started doing this. She's very good at organizing things. So she helped me get and keep my life organized when it came to the podcast. And because of that, I was able to complete the website because everything for Geek and Cast I made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the exception of our logo. And theme music too. But like acquiring the theme music, I did that. You know what I mean? Like the theme song to CTRL C was a song that I heard on YouTube from this really big electronic music DJ.
Okay.
And it's a video on YouTube that has millions of hits, and for some, like, I really love the song. For some reason, there's an email at the end of the video, and I said, you know what, fuck it, let me send an email. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, no,
I'm gonna ask what the rights are. Turns out they come back and they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, you can buy the rights. I'm like, what, really? How much? And they wanted something, I think it was in the neighborhood of either $500 to $700.
Oh shit.
For the rights to the song. And I turned around and said, "Thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that you took the time to read my email. That alone means a lot to me. However, I am a small business owner. I don't have the money for that. My budget is much, much, much lower. But thank you either way. I hope that in the future I can afford to work with you because I love your music."
Right.
And they wrote back, "Well, how much you got?"
So they already knew that you were asking for an intro, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had already in the original email I outlined that
You're a
I really love your
podcast,
music. I'm
yeah.
a fan. I want to start a podcast. The podcast is going to be about movies, and we're going to be reviewing them about old movies, new movies, classics, non-classics, cult classics, everything. And we would really like your song to intro it. And the thing is, when you listen to the song, and if you listen to the theme song of Control C, the beginning of it sounds like a film reel. And that's the
Yes.
reason I fell in love with that song.
You're correct.
You know what I mean? That's the reason I desperately wanted the song. So I'm not going to disclose what the final price
No,
was.
you don't
but
have to. Don't worry.
They dropped it down significantly. Let me tell you, like,
Okay.
I will forever be grateful. And it's one of those cases where it almost felt like it was meant to be because it shouldn't have been that easy to get the rights to a song with that many views and that popular from this. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't have been that easy.
But yeah, you're right, and it shouldn't. But hey, it worked out, and also they're probably smart and said, look, if this guy's podcast does, get some footing in the internet, people are going to be asking him, hey, where's that song from? And that helps them because then it brings attention to them.
Correct. And it's one of those where, because everything, when Lindsay joined, she helped me so much that everything kind of just seemed to start fitting into place. And everything just kind of seemed to just fall into where it needed to fall. And because of that, I kind of was like, all right, man, we're finally ready to go. So then we were prepared this time. Instead of jumping into doing podcast and, let's do this weekly. We recorded for like 6 months before we even launched.
Oh, so you were just storing all the audio files.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because essentially, because we do old movies and new movies, we could record a shit ton of old movies and keep a backlog. That way, if something happened, because 2 of our members at the time would travel a lot. If somebody was missing, or, my wife and I, because my wife is on the show as well, we have kids. It's difficult, not just for one of us to get away, but let alone both of us,
Right.
So we would get together once a week or once a month, and we would record 4 episodes. And we ended up building a backlog. And then finally, we launched in October, and we ended up being able to launch with 5 episodes without the need to rush to record and get back in the studio for more.
And what year was that?
That was 2016 was when Control C launched. So Control C is about to hit 2 years.
Oh, shit. Awesome.
Yep. Control C is about to hit 2 years. We are actually in our 91st episode this week.
Are you guys going to do something special for the 100?
I don't know. Lindsay and I have discussed it, but at the same time, we feel, do we want to celebrate the 100, or do we want to celebrate every year? Because
I see.
I kind of like the idea of every year being able to celebrate what we started, as opposed to doing it every 100 episodes or every 50 episodes. You know what I mean? Well, technically every year would be around 50 episodes, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Rather than do the huge milestone episodes, I think I'd rather do the year, just because like you mentioned, man, not many podcasts make it a year.
Nope.
Let alone 2.
Yeah, I was looking at the statistics just now. One source says that most podcasts that start off in less than a year, like I said, fail. And that statistic shows that 70% of them that start off without, just like, independently, not part of a big major network, fail within that first year. That's a high fucking number.
Yeah. So with that said, I kind of feel that the year would probably be better. So we
Yeah.
may or we may not, but definitely if nothing else, we will have one in October. If we do two, we do two. Why the fuck not?
Why not? Yeah, exactly. Or like I did my year in this past February was my year. February was my year. So I said, hey, this is our year mark. That's it in the intro, and I continue doing the podcast. Now, am I gonna do something for the 100th episode? I mean, I'm only an episode. This is gonna be what 50. You and I are recording 57, I believe, something like that. Or 58. I'm not sure. It's one or the other. So, because I think I have one. I think I have one in the can. So this might be 58. But in other words, another way, maybe for my 100, I might just say, hey, this is 100, and that's it. It's just a little shout out. I'm not saying like, hey, do a party.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. I don't know how easy it is to record a party as on a podcast, but maybe people have done it. Who knows?
I mean, if you remember back in the 90s, there used to be the party lines.
Oh, fuck that shit.
The power,
yeah,
power
exactly.
love line.
So that's cool, man. So with Lindsay's help, you were able to take this off 2 years ago.
Well, Lindsay helped tremendously. My wife helped
Your help as
tremendously.
well, right.
My best friend Ray also helped tremendously. It was one of those things that everybody was coming together and it just kind of came. And the beautiful thing about Geekend, especially how it started and even how I run it today, and even how I want to keep running it till the day that it burns and I, burn
Right.
into the ground, is I don't I care about how many listeners we have from a perspective of I want more people to listen to us.
Right.
But I don't care about how many listeners I have.
I stopped caring.
As long as we're having fun,
Right.
as long as we're either telling a story or just spending quality fucking time together. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, this isn't like you and I sitting here together recording this quote unquote episode. This isn't really too much of an episode. This is two friends having
Just
a
talking
conversation
and getting to
having
know
a
each other.
discussion.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just hanging out, So that alone in itself is worth it. That other people get to listen to it and enjoy it is a plus, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I hope that more and more people keep listening. But that's a bonus. You know what I mean? That's not the reason I do it. I do it because it's fun. I do it because I enjoy it. And everybody else is just gravy, man.
Exactly. No, everything you said, it's exactly down to the T almost why I started it. Except that I'll add that yours tends to stick to the movies. I stick to movies, games. I'm like a free for all conversation type of podcast. Bits for you. It's
And that's actually why I wanted to come on your show so much. It's
Yeah.
because of that format. Because the shows that I have, I mean,
how
in
many
one
shows
show we
do
review
you have?
movies.
It's just the Gaming Dad. Is that
Right now we have live Gaming Dad 101,
Okay.
which is the video game show that we do, and then we have Control C, and that one is the movie review. We have other shows that we're looking at launching this year, but those aren't live yet. I'll let you know when they are,
Cool.
because you're going to be invited to at least one or two of them.
Oh wow.
Um,
Thanks.
so I'm telling you in advance.
Yeah. That's fine. I'll be there.
So it's one of those things where,
Do you have an
I'm ready.
idea, or do you don't want to talk about it right now because you don't
Yeah, I have,
what
I have
it what it
ideas.
is?
We have multiple ideas for shows, and
okay.
we have right now. I have two shows that I'm trying to get together. The one thing that I do want that I can share too
Uh-huh.
is we're also trying to get into video game reviews.
Oh, okay.
We have
I
a
see.
video game show that we do.
Mhm.
We're also going to start pumping out like written reviews for the website. And
Okay.
that's something that we've already started working on. We just kind of need to up the website to get to the point where we finally launch.
Got it.
So, it's one of those where
Mm-hmm.
that's in the direction that we're trying to head. So there's plans for Geekend, and we keep moving forward. And at the end of the day, as long as I'm having fun, I don't see why the fuck not I shouldn't do this. As
Yeah.
long as I'm having fun, as long as we're being responsible and we're, taking care of budget wise, and as long as my family's being fed,
Yeah.
why not create entertainment for people for the internet?
Yeah, this is for fun. Like you mentioned, I did this pretty much like I was listening to podcasts for years. I got heavy into podcasts in 2014, and I was like, everybody says it's easy to do. You can do it from your house. You can do it from your garage. And I was like, oh, fuck, that sounds cool. So it was around the end of 2016. My best friend, Javier, who's in Texas, I told him, dude, you listen to podcasts too, right? He's like, yeah, I listen to podcasts. He listens to a lot of wrestling podcasts and et cetera, et cetera. I go, okay, would you like to be my co-host? And he's like, wait, co-host of what? And I go, of a podcast. And he was like, yeah, what's it going to be about? I'm like, it's going to be about whatever the fuck we want. And then he's like, okay. I'm like, you want to talk about wrestling? You can talk about wrestling. You want to talk about video games? You can talk about video games. I want to talk about, whatever, movies, everything, we can get deep into the murky water. If we can even go as deep as religion and politics, even though I'm not I don't consider myself a political person. But it's just a podcast to me and to a lot of people that I've talked to that are, either hosting a podcast or podcast listeners. Mm-hmm. They enjoy podcasts because it is a time, and I enjoy it because it is an opportunity for people to get together, either whether it's a friend or some podcasts I listen to are just a single person. They talk by themselves for like an hour. I'm like, dude, I cannot talk to myself or by myself for an hour, but these people do it and it's fucking entertaining. So
I know, dude. And here's a little known fact: Gaming Dad 101 originally started with me by myself.
I remember that happening, and I know that you've done it on a few occasions on your own. And I don't know how you've done it, because for me, I'm like, I don't know how the fuck Chris does it, because I don't know what I could talk to for like an hour or half an hour by myself. But you do it.
Originally, so. I was going to do the show by myself, but I recorded 3 episodes that I threw away because I didn't like it.
You were like, fuck it.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it. No, that's not what I want to do. And then I finally decided to bring Brian along, and then that's when the show started. And at that point, doing one episode because he's not, he wasn't there.
I remember he was,
fine.
Timing. Yeah. Every now and then you've done like one on your own because something comes up and you're like, fuck it, I got to do it. Why not? Those are okay. But I don't know, because I wouldn't be able to do it on my own consistently. Like I've heard other podcasts and I'm like, dude, these guys do it for a year. This guy's been on for like 2 years on his own. He does an hour every fucking week. I'm like, holy fuck. But hey, I guess he's just a talker. but going back to what I was trying to say, I have like friends and my when I do the Wise Guys episodes, I have my cousin, my good friend, and my brother. Those are the consistent guests on the Wise Guys. A couple of Wise Guys I've had, alternate guests that are, they came. I had my other brother and a couple other people come in the past. I've done interviews which are not considered Wise Guys episode, but I guess I kind of consider it Wise Guys episode, which is one-on-one, with other friends. And that's a rare time because people these days, they don't make time to communicate face-to-face as much as I believe one should. All the communication now is Facebook, WhatsApp, text message, and that whole connection of talking around a table, whether it's guys, girls, whatever, it doesn't matter what you are, just talking about, hey, what's in your life? What do you like? What's interesting to you? That is what appealed to me. That is what appeals to the podcast that I listen to. For example, your podcast with the Control C, you have what? 3? No, wait. How many guests do you have? Just
5.
You and 5. So it's 5 in total, including yourself.
Yep, okay. 5 in total, including myself.
That is something that I was like, fuck, that's cool, because you're getting ideas from friends, and I'm sure you guys are all friends, so you guys share,
whether they like it or not,
right? You guys have something in common, and that something is movies. That's something that a lot of people can relate to, and that's something that either they decide to listen to or not. But you guys do it for fun, and like you mentioned, at first you guys were like, "Oh shit, how many downloads are we getting per week or per episode?" Javier and I were kind of into that in the first 6 months, and like around that same time I told you earlier, around October, November, when I just kind of like I said fuck social media to a certain extent to my personal accounts.
Yeah,
I was like, you know what, fuck the downloads too. I'm doing this for fun. I don't give a shit how many downloads I get. It has grown a little bit from last year for this year, and that's all that matters, dude. That's all, just having fun,
Yeah, and that's all that's important, man. At the end of the day, if you're having fun, then do it.
Exactly.
Like, this is a project that has helped me with my stress. It's helped me with my anxiety. It's helped me. It helps me connect with my wife. For God's sake,
Yes.
she's part of one of my shows. You know what I mean? Not only has she been an amazing support to allow me the time to record, Gaming Dad 101, to allow me, the time to spend away from the family to help be a guest on your episode, but we get to spend time together. This is something that she can see the passion I have for it and gives me the support that I need in somebody,
Yeah.
So it's been great. Why wouldn't I do it?
And was she an avid listener of podcasts in general before she
she had no idea what they were.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So you introduced her.
Well, I think it's a little... Okay, I think I'm being a little exaggerative when I say she had no idea what they were. I don't remember whether she knew or she didn't, but she was not a person who really listened to them. She would always listen to music very similar to me. And she started getting into podcasts when I started getting to them because I was like, I was listening to this podcast. It was really funny and blah, blah, blah. And they have podcasts for everything. And, you should check it out. Blah, blah.
Dude.
And then that's when she started getting into it.
I was amazed. Like, I first started getting into
and
comedy.
And, of course, like every woman, she got into Sudio was the very first thing she listened to.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not into that, dude. I try to get into a couple of those podcasts. It's like I'm like, nah, it's not for me, man. I don't know.
Dude, honestly, and I don't mean to say it in a sexist way or anything, but those podcasts have a very, very strong female following.
I can see that. I
strongly believe it's because women are trying to figure out how to murder us and get away with it.
I wonder if my wife would be into serial killer podcasts or podcasts about crime. And you're right. A lot of women are into
3 episodes, and she'll continue on her own.
My wife is in the kitchen. She just told me that she's heard a couple of murder mystery podcasts.
See?
She's a fan of them. She said they're okay.
So
entertaining while she's working. She's saying, but yeah, dude, like that's what I don't even remember. Don't fucking hate me. I don't even remember exactly how I came across Control C. I think it was on Twitter or something like that, and I think somebody retweeted your thing. Or I came across your website, or maybe you came across my Twitter. I don't remember. But then something you said, I'm like, oh, okay, let me listen to this guy. So I heard your Control C podcast. I'm like,
yep.
These guys this is a pretty cool podcast. Then you mentioned you were in Florida, and then that's when I reached out, I think, and I said, oh shit, what part of Florida are you from? And then I think that's how I remember it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can help me out.
I can't remember who reached out to who, but yeah it was one of those we somehow found each other on Twitter.
Yeah.
We realized we were in Florida together, and then one of us asked each other where.
Where, exactly. And then the rest is history. That's pretty much how it started. I was like, oh shit, because I was listening to podcasts, and I'm like, okay, is there anybody in Florida doing a podcast? I was wondering if I was the only one. Since then, I've come across other ones, but nothing that has piqued my interest to reach out and say, "Hey, you want to collaborate?" Because theirs is a little bit different, and like I mentioned, I'm not crazy on politics. And a couple of Florida, I heard this one podcast. It's very close to here. It's actually in Hollywood, the town next over. They're very political, and I'm like, nah, that's not my cup of tea, So I'm not gonna reach out and say, "Hey, let's talk about politics."
No, I don't blame you, man. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just so much to do in podcasting, and I enjoy it, man. It's just fun.
Yeah, I want to wrap it up quickly because I know we've been talking so much shit already. But let's go. I know you've done the whole E3 coverage. Can you just give me a couple of things that you liked about this year's E3 and a couple of things you didn't like about it?
I loved Bethesda. Not so much what they showed, but the way that they showed it. I love how they came out making jokes at Walmart.
Yeah.
I love how they came
making
jokes at themselves with Skyrim on Alexa.
Yeah. That was good.
And coming to your beeper too. So I really enjoyed that aspect. It was a fun conference. Content-wise, it was interesting. I'm really looking forward to Fallout 76, which it actually made me start playing Fallout 4 again.
I saw it.
Not again, for the first time.
I saw your notification because you and I are friends on the PlayStation Network, and I'm like, oh shit, Chris is playing Fallout.
Yeah. So I was enjoying that, and let me see what else did I like. I also really liked Xbox, the way they came out swinging. Now,
Hmm.
the downside to Xbox is that nothing really was scheduled to come out within this year and next year. So
Yeah,
they
man.
have like this really big empty lot.
They
But here's the
do.
thing. Xbox has already given up on this generation. They already know they lost.
Yeah.
What they're doing at this point is putting everything that they can into the next launch. And you better believe that when that Xbox 2 or Xbox whatever the frick they want to call it
Yeah. You
comes
can say
out, they're
fuck.
coming out punching.
Dude, that's right. Because towards the end of their conference, they said, "Oh, and we're already hard at work at the next generation Xbox." I'm like, "Oh,
Right?
okay." So they had to make it public that, hey, like you said, they fucked up this generation. They're working on the next one.
Yeah. And look, and when you think about it that way, yes, they didn't show anything too promising for now, but holy shit, did you see those reels? Like,
Yeah,
can you
dude.
see what's coming for the next
I'm
gen?
not crazy
And
about Crackdown 3, but they had some appealing things. Like Forza Horizon. I'm not crazy about racing, but damn, dude, that's a beautiful fucking game. I want to play that fucking game. Whatever it is, Forza Horizon 4 or 3, whatever they're calling it.
four, yeah.
Yeah, that shit looks crazy, like amazing, dude.
So yeah, I'm down for that. I was very disappointed in PlayStation, and
Really?
that's because yeah,
Why?
man, totally.
¿Qué pasó?
I was in love with The Last of Us. I'm gonna get
Yeah,
it,
dude.
but starting the conference in that church was a huge mistake.
That is crazy, dude. I was like, wait a minute, is it over? That's it?
It
It's
was
done?
it was distracting. They wasted a shit ton of time. I did not need the ESPN side desk next to the stadium
I,
commentary
I don't know
people.
why they did that, dude. They didn't do that last year. At least I can't recall.
They did, but it was an before the show type of
Got
thing
it. And
where they were showing like indies and the really small
you're
titles.
right. You're right. Now it's
So
coming to me.
something like that. But starting at the church was a huge mistake. The rest of it, they showed Death Stranding.
Yes. At least we got to see more of it.
No, but that's the thing. What did you see? You saw
Nothing.
Norman Reedus walking and
Nothing.
walking
We don't know
and
anything
walking.
about it. We don't know where he is. We don't know what he's
Hold on,
doing.
hold on,
there.
hold on, hold on.
Okay.
He's
okay.
climbing a mountain.
Okay. Okay. Go.
Oh
You're
shit!
setting
Wait,
up the
wait.
scene. Go ahead.
Walking. Like that's all you saw.
Walking.
You showed me nothing, and I understand that they did a more in-depth, play afterwards. But
Mhm.
for the conference, it was a waste of time.
It
You
was.
didn't show me anything of substance that would tell me anything. You showed me about 15 seconds of dialogue, and nothing substantial visually that's convincing me that this game is even near. Like I don't even feel that this game's a quarter complete.
I would say that I don't think this game is gonna come out. If it comes out on the PlayStation 4 life cycle, it's a fucking miracle.
No,
But
if it comes out on the PlayStation 4 life cycle, it's coming out as a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 deal.
yes, because Hideo Kojima, the creator, takes so much energy and time to complete. He's a perfectionist, dude.
Oh yeah, no, and it shows in his games. Look
Yeah.
at the quality of games that you get from Hideo Kojima.
Top
You know
quality.
what I mean?
Top quality. That's it.
Exactly. So, with that said, I feel that it painted it in a bad light. I've had this
Yeah.
game reserved since the initial tease
2 years
a year ago.
No, longer. It was late 2016. So almost 2 years. Let's say, yeah, give or take 2 years.
I've had it basically since the day that you could pre-order it.
Right.
So I pre-ordered it, and at this point, with what they showed me, I'm kind of feeling like I might be cheated. You know what I mean? And that's kind of my fear. Now, I feel okay because I trust in Hideo Kojima considering his track record.
Right.
He hasn't given me any reason to doubt him. So I trust that, and that makes me feel a little better. But at the end of the day, it's kind
It
of
was underwhelming.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So that you didn't really show me anything. You just kind of wasted my time. You could have shown me anything else, or at least more of one of the other things. So The Last of Us was good. Death Stranding was not that great. The other big one was Spider-Man. That one, dude, I'm sold on that shit.
Yeah, me too.
That one looked beautiful.
I pre-ordered it already.
Oh, I've had it pre-ordered since last year. And what was the last one? Oh, Ghost of Tsushima. That one I'm also very much looking forward
I'm
to.
a fan of
So-
Sucker Punch, and they're in what is it called? The Infamous series. So I'm looking forward to that one.
So it looks beautiful. It looks really good. It looks really clean. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be great. But it's one of those cases where when you look at Xbox, they showed you, what was it, 15 games, 18 exclusives, 15 premieres, I think it
Yes.
was.
For world premieres, but it's gonna be on both systems, on both
Yeah,
consoles. Yeah.
but regardless of the fact,
Yeah.
they still showed it. You know
Yeah,
what I
they
mean?
did show a lot.
So when you have that much information flowing at your face, and then you have like 6 games at the PlayStation conference, no matter how good 3 of those games looked,
Yeah.
you had only really like 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
You had 4 major ones and 2 or 3 minor titles that you kind of sort of mentioned.
And I was kind of talking about this with someone. I was telling them, it's almost like PlayStation knows that they're obviously they're the number one in this generation. They have last time I checked, they had over 70 million PlayStation 4s worldwide. Xbox hasn't really released a number in over a year because for obvious reasons, but developers saying that they have about 40. So PlayStation is obviously winning this generation, or already won. As you can say, it's almost felt like PlayStation threw in basically saying, "Hey, we're number one. We're just gonna show you 5 games, 6 games, and that's it. That's all we're gonna show. Have a good day." I'm like, really? Come on, dude. It's just fucking E3, man, and you're only showing us 6 games. You got fucking Microsoft showing us 50 games.
Yeah. So it's one of those cases where I just felt that they're lacking. And as much of a PlayStation fanboy as I am, I have to give it to Xbox this year. They did very well this year because Xbox is ahead. That's the thing. Xbox is already thinking next gen. That's where their head is at. They already know that there's nothing they can do during this gen to save them. There's no way in hell that they're going to catch up to PlayStation now when we're at the turn of a console. You know what I mean? So why bother trying at this point? At this point, let's focus all our energy on the future.
Yeah, that was their clear intention at the last few minutes. They were like, "Hey, we're working on the next gen." Now, question: when do you believe or think that the next next version of the Xbox will be released? If you were to take just a guess.
I'm basically shooting for the next gen consoles to come out in 2021. The way that I'm seeing it is they're starting R&D now.
Right.
Xbox already announced that they started R&D. PlayStation is going to announce that they're starting R&D either by PSX by the end of the year, or if not by PSX, then they're going to announce it at next E3.
Okay.
Which would then lead to Xbox finally saying, and we're working toward this, and that's when they're going to start showing you specs and talking about it, but not actually have it.
Right.
PlayStation might come out that same E3 with the look at our specs, because everybody knows that that's what they like to do. They sit in a room, pull it out, and put it on a table and measure. So we're looking at the E3 by 2020. So naturally, they're going to want to release, somewhere around the holidays. They're not ready to release in 2020. I think they're coming 2021.
I would agree with you. Simple fact is that right before E3, Sony's worldwide lead on Twitter said that we're already reaching the life cycle of the PlayStation 4, the end of it. And then he did another tweet saying, "Oh, I mean, we're about 2 or 3 years away." So that puts it around like your time period. And my next question is, what was it that made Xbox not be number one this generation and made the PlayStation 4 take the top spot?
Simply put, they thought they were too big a name for anybody to give a shit. Nah, realistically, they came out, they cut their nose to spite their face.
Yeah.
Like that's basically it. Like they came out and they were very anti-gamer. They were very much in the we are Xbox and we are better, and that's what you need to care about.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about it always being online that didn't appeal to certain people, the whole thing about not being able to share games didn't appeal to some people, because that's how gaming started, dude. Like gaming became what it became because you could go to my house, I can lend you my cartridge, you can go home and play it.
And
you know what I mean?
And that I'm gonna agree with you 100%. Well, majority of the reason that I believe that the Xbox failed this generation, or not failed, but was in second, It's because of that. It's because of the whole sharing online DRM debacle, and Sony beautifully and hilariously made their E3 announcement saying, "Hey, guess what? You want to share games? Just hand it to your friend." That trailer that Sony did had me laughing in tears. They basically,
and it wasn't just hand it to your friend; it's share it on Facebook and share it on Twitter. And here's a video clip.
Sony took the opposite approach. Because Sony was following Xbox's approach. They were going to do the whole online only. Oh, Microsoft's doing it. We're going to do it too. And when people on the internet in 2012 and 2013 said, "Fuck you, Microsoft. We don't want that," Sony made the best trailer and like, "Hey, here you go. Here's the game. I'm handing it to you right in your hand." And that made people on the internet crack up and say, "You know what? Sony has my money." That to me was the turning point.
No, I agree, and I mean it was a very polarizing E3
Smart
because
marketing.
I remember it. I remember when they announced the Xbox, and it just wasn't. It wasn't just that it wasn't about the games; it was about the TV and sports and all the other shit.
I remember.
And the Connect.
And where is that
fact
now?
That
Nowhere.
You had to be online,
It's gone.
And the fact that you this, but then they have the audacity to try to charge you. How much was it that they were charging? $600 when it came out, I believe.
It was $499 actually. $499.
It was $500. Okay.
Yeah.
So to come out and charging that much, and then PlayStation comes out and they're like, you can get us for $100 cheaper. Like,
and you can share games physically.
Exactly. So you know what I mean? Like they fucked up. And the thing is that at first they didn't know it, and then Phil Spencer got brought in, and that other douchebag got kicked out, and
fired,
then Phil Spencer has saved Xbox, literally.
Pretty much.
I will give that man credit to the end of time that he's the reason Xbox is still alive. Because if he was not there, Xbox would no longer be a thing.
You're right. I was getting into a discussion with somebody on Twitter a while ago, and we were going back and forth, and they were sort of agreeing with me too that Phil Spencer, like you said, saved it. He came in strong, and he's like, okay, let's focus on the games. Let's forget. I think it was I don't know if it was last year's E3 or the year before. He actually came and said publicly on one of the E3s. He said, "Hey, we tried this approach and we learned and listened to you guys." And when he said listened to the fans, that's what matters. Is the gamers. We listen to you guys, and you guys don't want this. You guys don't want a TV, a cable, or a satellite on the Xbox. You guys just want to play games. So we're gonna give you games, and that's what saved it.
I agree.
Yeah, man. So, if you want to give us some last words of where people can reach you and listen to you and hang out with you, at least with their headphones.
Yeah. You can check me out on Twitter at ViscZen. That's VISCZEN. You can also check out GeekNcast on Twitter. That's GeekNcast. You can check out the website at geekncast.com. You can check out the show Gaming Data 101 on podcast services everywhere. You can check out Control C on podcast services everywhere. And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. So basically, if you look up Geek End Cast, Geekend like weekend, but Geek Cast, you'll find both shows, and you'll find us pretty much everywhere. So
and they'll find your website, and then your website has links to your social media.
Yep.
And you're going to share that information so I can post it in the episode notes.
Of course, man.
All right, dude. Any last words, man?
Stop being assholes. Love each other. For the love of God. We're all human beings. We all bleed. We're all gonna die. Like, just fucking stop being douchebags for a while, the little time we have left in this world, and love one another for the love of God.
Yeah, man, and play some fucking video games and watch movies.
Play some fucking video games, and go slap your wife in the ass, and have her come slap your ass, and then flirt with each other like you're 16 again.
Exactly, or slap your man in the ass if you like slapping men.
That's right.
we appeal to all genders.
We appeal to all.
All 300 genders. I don't know. I can't keep up with it. Every day there's a fucking new gender. I don't know what to do anymore.
And let them have it. Who cares? I've been saying it for years. Regardless of what you put in your mouth, everybody's equal.
Right. As long as you don't, the way I see it, as long as you're not physically hurting anybody, do whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly, man. We shouldn't worry about what anybody else does. Worry about your own damn self.
Exactly. All right. I think I'm going to leave it at that note.
All right.